I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. In this one, I want to speak to you guys about something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially since the coronavirus has been hitting the entire world. And I started thinking about it when I was in Thailand. So a lot of you guys know that I moved back, or I traveled back to Canada, and I'm in my parents' house right now. So this is my room in my parents' house. It's a really nice room. My room here is as big as my apartment in Chiang Mai, so it's kind of funny and ironic. But I started thinking about it as soon as the coronavirus hit, and I was still in Chiang Mai at the time. And, I was kind of thinking about what would happen if I got sick in Thailand. And the thought of kind of leaving my parents to deal with not only my body, which would be in Thailand, but also my stuff and my motorbike and my apartment, having them come and pack all this stuff and transport all this stuff and then pack my body and transport it. And it all seemed like a really terrible thing to do to my parents, who were probably already dealing with the grief of losing me, right? But the funny thing was that when I started thinking about all this stuff, I was thinking to myself, I really want to have a very low maintenance death. Not only at this time and at this point in time, with the coronavirus, but I was thinking in general that if I die, whenever I die, whatever point I die at, I want to make sure that I have the lowest maintenance death ever. So, obviously I want my organs to be donated, and I already have told, I've already put it into my thing about the Canadian government already knows that I want my organs donated. And mostly we cremate our bodies in Hinduism, so my parents would probably, or I would probably get cremated. But in general, wherever I am, whatever's going on in the world, I've kind of set up my life in a way where I have very little stuff. So that's actually a good thing, which means that if I was in Thailand, I would make sure that, I get all my stuff packed up and perhaps give it away, or just have them throw it out, really, because a lot of it is completely useless. And just sell my motorbike and things like that. But in general, as I said, I'd like to make sure that I put as little pressure on my parents or my family or whoever is taking care of this detail as much as possible. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that in general I like to be low maintenance. In fact, I would say the worst thing anyone could ever say to me is that I'm high maintenance. I think that would be the biggest insult anyone could give me. Anyone could say to me is like, you're pretty much very high maintenance. I would literally shrivel up and die. A lot of it has to do with the INFJ aspect of it. Obviously, INFJs don't like being high maintenance, but also in general, as an INFJ, I also spend a lot of my time thinking about death and thinking about how I would want my death to line up and what I want to happen. And interestingly enough, a lot of the INFJs that I've spoken to have said the same thing, that they have obviously thought a lot about their death, but also that they have actually written out things that they want to happen on their funeral. So the music that they want played, and where they want it to happen, who they want invited, how they want it to go, what they want to be, what they want their stuff to be, where they want their stuff to go. And it's kind of funny to me because I've not done that much research into it, because I really don't want a funeral. I just want to be cremated and that's it, done with and over with, and my organs donated. But I was thinking about how, people are interesting and fascinating, because I can't even imagine making all these plans when the possibility of your death is perhaps far away in the future. Right now, as I look at my body and the way I'm living, it doesn't seem likely that I might die anytime in the future, or anytime, in the present moment. But, who knows what will happen? Who knows how the coronavirus is going to run out? But in general, as I said, I like to be as low maintenance as possible, and not only low maintenance in life, but also low maintenance in death. And it's kind of crazy to be thinking about all these things right now, and actually it really shows you the atmosphere that a lot of us are living in. Although I thought about my death in general all the time, but to actually make plans on it and to figure out, okay, I'm gonna have to write my will. And I actually sat down, I wrote down my will saying, I want half of my stuff to go to my brother and half of it to go to my sister, and kind of doing these random little things where I would never have even done all of this administrative stuff before. And so, even now I'm like, all right, if something happens to me, this is where all my accounts are, and this is my motorbike, and it's over there, and you can sell it, and like things like that. It's kind of interesting how a lot of us are probably going through exactly the same thing, where we're trying to think about our death and trying to make it as easy for our loved ones to deal with it as possible. I can't imagine the people who are kind of going through it right now, where they can't even meet up with their loved ones who are in the hospital. If you have coronavirus right now, obviously you can't even have visitors, right? Obviously, because it's so contagious, and you can't visit the hospital unless you have corona, or unless you're a worker there. But a lot of the people who are dying of corona or who have died of it, they didn't even get a chance to see their family. They were in the hospital and they died in the hospital without even getting a chance to say goodbye, unless some nice nurse, did FaceTime or something. Or, perhaps they were too ill to even be able to have a conversation with their family or to know that they were dying. And so can you imagine that? And not only that, but they can't even hold funerals for a lot of these people because they're not allowed to even release the bodies yet. And so we're kind of, as I said, living in the world right now where it's like no holds barred, it's a world where things are changing rapidly, and it's becoming a place where things that you thought would not have happened in the past are actually happening right now, or things that you thought were impossible are actually taking place right now. It's interesting, it's fascinating, it's crazy that we actually get to be in this world right now. As individuals, we get to experience this world and to be a part of this historical event, right? But in general, also, we have to, or we're probably, a lot of us are already thinking about, okay, what if this happens to me? What if I'm the one on the other side of the glass? What if I'm in the hospital and I have my parents or my loved ones have to deal with my death? Like, how are they going to do it? I have to make it easy for them. I shouldn't be too much of a burden. They're probably already dealing with the grief of it. I don't want to put more pressure on them, more anxiety or more fear on them. So I want to make it as easy for them as possible. And again, as I said, these are some of the things that a lot of us are thinking about that we would not have thought about previously, perhaps. And maybe in one way, it's actually a good thing to have these conversations with yourself. I've always said to myself and to other people that to have a conversation about death is one of the most important things you can do. And I'm sure you've heard that from Buddhism and from a lot of gurus that say that, because if you can think about death, you're more likely to live your life to the fullest. And again, I think the corona incident, this pandemic, is really helping a lot of us have that conversation with ourselves and think about issues like death and what it would look like for us, perhaps when we've never actually had these conversations with ourselves. Now, if you're an INFJ, you probably think about death a lot already, but if you don't, then I'm sure that nowadays it's actually become very common for you to even think about it, considering that thousands of people die every single day from the virus, and it's become as that you can't even switch on the news or go online or to any social media site without seeing the impact of the pandemic on the world. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about death, of course, in general, but also in this time, in this moment in time, what are your thoughts on death? Like, how has the coronavirus or the pandemic affected your thoughts on death? Have you thought about being a low maintenance, death for your loved ones, or have you thought about your will or your funeral, things like that? Do you think about all those things? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your perspective on this matter. Again, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please comment below and I shall do a follow-up video. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. I appreciate it, and I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.